Welcome to the monthly movie.
Welcome to the monthly movie marathon.
In January
2025.
Woo!
I hope you've all had a fantastic new year. A good, enjoyed our 2024 recap special.
I had some good messages from that.
Oh, fantastic. There we go.
I will say someone wants to know where I work because of the cryptic.
That was very cryptic. Yes, true.
And other people
Did
are
you
like,
tell them?
I said it was a particular establishment.
Sure.
And then
I like that we're keeping the mystery.
Yeah. And then
Well,
other people were like, oh, who was the person you were talking about that's like really unprofessional?
Oh, the one where you whispered to each other? Yeah.
And I was like, you'll just have to
You
wait and
know
find
what?
out.
Maybe one day you will find out.
Maybe,
But for now,
maybe if once I know it won't like affect my job.
yes.
Maybe.
Oof.
Or maybe they'll just cancel themselves.
And you know what? Probably not hard for that person to do.
Not at all.
At all.
No.
But I'm glad there was a great reaction to the recap episode.
Yeah.
Thank you everyone for listening. Now, I should say, I'm not sick.
He's not sick. He's just...
We're recording this on the 2nd of January.
Yeah.
Which can only mean a couple of things. Obviously, we're in that post-Christmas... What day is it between Christmas and New Year's?
Even though we're out of New Year's.
Even though we're out of New Year's, I still don't know what day it is.
Yeah.
Big New Year's Eve, I won't lie.
Yeah, he won't.
I maybe was doing karaoke from like midnight till 4 a.m.
Wow.
under a huge influence of a lot of alcohol.
Fair enough.
So the voice started going with
What
that.
song did you sing?
I sang
Songs.
so many songs. Well, I started with Creed, and I did a duet with Rhiannon's brother, and that really got things going. And that's immediately where I lost the voice, but then just went all night long. And it was great.
With arms wide open.
Creed at karaoke is a party starter, and then I ended with Johnny Cash Hurt. And I was like Mr. Chow at the end of The Hangover.
I
too.
hurt myself today.
Because it's a banger song. But then most people after a big night, and look, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I'm a fucking legend when it comes to drinking. Most people rest January 1st. They go, oh, you know what? I'm going to recover. New year, new me. Let's not me. I rallied like 3 or 4 people together.
Nick was like, new year, new me. He's like, nah, new year, old me.
Old me. And I went to the cricket, went to the Big Bash, sat in the front row, demolished beers, and ended up on TV. So I've had a great. But also then that was...
most heterosexual sentence.
That was last night.
Fucking went to cricket and bashed some beers.
Smashed some beers at the Big Bash. And you could tell when the footage of me on the Channel 7 broadcast, because I was right behind a catch that got taken.
Right.
And I'm the only one in the crowd who's going in a game where our team was getting flogged. So that's why I'm the way I am. And that's why I sound like this now.
Yeah.
And then Pete and I went to a movie this morning.
We did.
Because we're back to work.
We're not allowed to say what.
Not just yet.
But look on our socials on
The day this comes out, it'll be the week after.
the week after, so we still can't say anything.
Put the little
Just
puzzle
say
pieces
January 14th.
ish.
Just
Have a look around.
Just look for what we're going to say about it.
And I did tell Pete that I was like, we're still recording today, even though I sound like this.
Yeah.
Even though I feel like this.
Me being the
Courteous
thoughtful
man.
person, I was like, are you up for the challenge? Because...
Just have a Hydrolite, we'll be all right. Hydrolite, you'll be all right. If they want to sponsor us, I drink a lot of it these days. But we back in the saddle. We've already done a screening now. We're recording our first episode of the year.
Yeah.
It's January 2nd.
I joined Letterboxd.
Pete's on Letterboxd now.
I was like, it was one of
Peter
those
Gray with
things
an
that,
A.
like, it was one of those things that I've signed up a few times, and every time I've signed up, I've just never kept up with it. But I watched 4 movies yesterday.
Holy shit.
So,
Happy New Year.
and
Well done.
I've logged all 4.
Today was my first movie of the year.
There you
The one
go.
we saw this morning. was
So
my first
I've
movie.
logged my 4 for the year so far. I can't log this
Fantastic.
one until later on.
There we go. Oh,
But-
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
We can't.
we can't say that
And
we've
there's
seen it.
there's actually got a couple coming up that we can't talk about.
Yeah.
But that's the nature of you've listened to the show for a while now. You know that's the nature of the show.
You get it.
But if you follow us on our Letterboxds
Hey.
and our Instagrams,
Yes.
and our X's,
Yes.
don't follow our X's, but follow us on X.
Yeah.
You'll find out, and you'll be the first to know what we've seen, what we think of it. But for now, let's get into the monthly movie marathon for 2025. First episode, very exciting, and I'm keen for this one.
Yeah. Good.
Good writer director.
selection.
So I think this is a great selection. So Wolfman is coming out in January 16th.
Yes.
Here, January 17th in the States.
Yeah.
Blumhouse horror film, Universal horror film.
Was meant to be released in October last year.
It got pushed back to January.
But October makes sense.
October makes sense, but January does too these days.
January used to be known as like dump month.
It's the dumb month. Get all the shit you didn't want to release, all your bad movies out in January while there's nothing else
I don't know when that changed, but now all of a sudden January...
Can I put forward where I think it might have changed a little bit?
Yeah.
I think it was in 2019 with the release of The Invisible Man. Now, that was February.
That was 2020.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah, it was like one of the last movies that we saw
before COVID, when we were literally talking about that. But I think around that time, like it was earlier the year release, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think...
And that movie would have like that movie did very well, but that movie would have done even better if cinemas weren't.
It wasn't Invisible Man. It might have been Doolittle that year. That really changed the course.
That was 2019. Was that 2020?
That was 2020 as well.
Was it?
Doolittle caused the COVID-19 pandemic. That's what I heard. No, but I think horror now is really that January month.
Because wait a minute, is horror back? Horror never went anywhere.
Guys, I don't know if you heard this on Twitter, but horror is back.
Yeah.
It's been back
for like the last 7,000 years.
20 million years. So, but we had like in all honesty, Night Swim obviously didn't do too well in 2024.
It didn't do awful.
But it didn't do awful bang. But then
thing is, though, Blumhouse is known for making movies on a very small budget.
Oh, God, yeah.
So even if a movie is only like, it only made like $12 million, you'd be like, it probably only cost like $3 million.
Mithrigan, the year before.
Mithrigan, which did
very well.
Bonza numbers.
And then what came out in 2021? There must have been a horror film in 2021.
Possibly.
And it was weird, though. That was COVID times. But it seems now Blumhouse have found their small niche of January horror film releases. And Wolfman is one of those.
Yeah.
Written and directed by Leigh Whannell, who is at the center of our monthly movie marathon today.
An Aussie.
An Aussie, first of all, has created some of the most successful horror franchises of all time. Yeah. Saw, Insidious. He's not in any of the Conjuring films, is he? No, that's James Wan's vehicle. But The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
Upgrade.
Yeah.
Also doing these fantastic sort of like one-off, even if they're IP or not, one-off feature films. He's killing it.
Yeah.
We like Leigh Whannell a lot.
2017. We'll go back. 2017. We obviously had the Dark Universe.
Yes,
the intention of the Dark Universe,
yes.
Which was basically Universal's almost like we'll have our own like Marvel universe,
of the classic monster creatures, the Mummy, Frankenstein,
Bride of Frankenstein,
Invisible Man,
and this was all set up and like got set up to the point where they were like, so obviously Tom Cruise led the Mummy,
yes,
and before the Mummy came out, we had a group photo of Tom Cruise, Sophia Boutella, who played the Mummy.
The Mummy in The Mummy.
Johnny Depp and Javier Bardem. And Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe was there.
Because Russell Crowe was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Was there someone else?
And Javier Bardem was going to be the Wolfman.
The Wolfman.
And Johnny Depp was going to be the Invisible Man.
Yes.
And then there was talk that Angelina Jolie was going to play Bride of Frankenstein.
That's right. Yeah. But she wasn't in the photo.
She wasn't in the photo. And then The Mummy came out.
And before The Mummy came out, they released that fantastic IMAX trailer that had no score, no other special effects sounds other than Tom Cruise screaming as the plane went down. And it was hilarious. Then the Mummy should have been an indicator.
Yeah. And The Mummy came out and did not do well, unfortunately.
No. I remember not enjoying that.
And then that movie's reaction basically caused the Dark Universe to just go, let's halt on all of that. So,
but then normally what comes after that is a studio who goes, what are we going to do with all these properties we own?
Yeah.
Because if you don't make something with them, it kind of goes up in the air and people can start buying it and people, you run out of the licensing for that. So most studios freak out.
Yeah. So 2 years later, The Invisible Man goes the way of Leigh Whannell.
Yeah.
And he basically sort of sells it as, if we're going to do an Invisible Man movie, he's like, I want to do it from the perspective of the Invisible Man's victim.
Yeah, which is a brilliant idea.
And we get the Invisible Man with
Elizabeth Moss.
Oliver Jackson Cohen
Yep.
as the Invisible Man, Elizabeth Moss as Cecilia, who is his victim. We also have Harriet Dyer, Aldous Hodge. Great little cast. Filmed in Australia on a very small budget and obviously becomes a massive success. But the Invisible Man then is like, it's not the Dark Universe Invisible Man, and it hasn't started its own universe, but we are seeing these characters from the Dark Universe sort of get their own films. And now we're obviously getting Wolfman, which was initially going to be a Ryan Gosling-led production. He had scheduling, I think it was scheduling conflicts.
Right.
And he's now an executive producer. So he obviously still, like, this wasn't a case.
was a part of it.
This wasn't a case of like him going, I don't want to be a part of this. He's still a part of it in that regard.
Yes.
But Christopher Abbott is leading the charge here.
Julia Garner.
And
then, Leigh Whannell writing and directing, which is very exciting because big fans
and he knows
Leigh.
This guy knows how to make a horror movie.
Well, he knows how to make a horror movie. He also just knows how to make a good movie.
He knows how to make a good movie.
Because
Insidious 3 or so.
Well, hey, we can't win them all. I'm sure we've had episodes of the monthly movie marathon that are our Insidious Chapter 3s.
Possibly.
But we've also had our Invisible Mans.
We have.
We've also had our Upgrades. And we've also had our Saws, which are the 3 films. Wow, he did it again. He may be hungover, but he has not lost his ability to have very minor segues that wow no one but himself. And those are the 3 movies at the center of our Leigh Whannell Fest today as we celebrate the release of Wolfman. So we're going back to the beginning. Leigh Whannell got his start
21 years
crazy,
ago.
Wild.
Yeah.
With James Wan, who
James
we've
Wan.
also talked about on the podcast before James Wan has popped up.
So James Wan obviously did. He went on to be, I guess, more of the.
Well, he directed the first 2 Insidious films.
He did, and then he did the Conjuring. But then he's kind of pivoted with like Aquaman,
Fast 7.
So he's sort of up in.
He's doing a bit of everything.
Yeah. Whereas Leigh Whannell's kind of been like, I'm going to stay with like that genre.
In his horror genre.
Yeah.
So you got to start writing Saw. And also starring in Saw as Adam, the cocky young photographer, loudmouth photographer who he plays perfectly. American accent aside. But hey, Carrie Elways also has some interesting vocal choices in that film. But we're not here to criticize that, or maybe we are. Well, but we're both Saw fans.
We're big Saw fans. Even Saw at its lowest, which would probably be Saw 7.
Saw 7, the final chapter.
Still has a bit of.
Go back and listen. One of the first episode of Monthly Movie Marathon that Pete was on back when you were a guest on the show before you were a host on the show.
There was a time when I was just.
You were just a mere guest.
Yeah.
Our first episode was Saw.
It was.
We did all the Saws leading up to Spiral.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
How's that? And now we since have done, you did interviews for Spiral, but we both did interviews for Saw X.
Yes.
Well. So we're now in the Saw universe.
So I spoke to Darren Lynn Busman for Spiral, which was so.
He seems like such a cool guy.
And in his house, he's got like.
So many
many props from his movies.
Leigh Whannell strikes me as a guy who would have a lot of shit from his movies around.
I think so.
I think he loves what he does that much. And he's so intricate with details about things.
Yeah.
That I think he would have lots of cool shit around. I would hope he has like the bear trap, the reverse bear trap.
That'd be cool.
That would be cool.
That'd be cool.
So Leigh wrote and starred in Saw.
Yes.
He made his directorial debut with Insidious Chapter 3. However, we've talked about the Insidious movies on the show, so we skipped over that one.
Yeah.
Then he came out with this low-budget sci-fi thriller called Upgrade, which was one of those movies that was like, it kind of just came out and people were like, okay, we'll check it out. And then that word of mouth started. Everyone's like, hey guys, Upgrade fucking rips.
So it premiered at, I think it was a South by Southwest movie.
That does not shock me at all.
Which makes sense because that movie awesome. Is like it's a big crowd movie.
And a genre piece.
Yeah.
Big
and I think it was
movie.
I think this one cost like $3 million.
That's wild.
And I think it made like 18. So not
success.
Which is a success. And Upgrade, I'd obviously heard a lot about, and many people have been like, it's a fucking awesome movie. For whatever reason, just didn't get around to it.
Interesting. I saw it at the cinemas.
So this was my time to have my Upgrade cherry
This is your first time seeing it?
First time seeing it.
I didn't know that, Peter Gray.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay,
Yeah.
because I saw it at the cinemas and I loved it.
Yeah.
And I've watched it a couple times since. There we go.
Yeah.
So then he did that in 2018, right? And then, of course, as Pete was breaking down the history of the Dark Universe, he gets the Invisible Man. He's so adamant about doing his own twist on it.
Yeah.
Pays off big time because not only was it a box office success before the pandemic really kicked off. I remember when it came out on demand, we rented it.
It came out on demand like 3 weeks later because of the pandemic.
But it was one of those $30 full price
because
ones.
the movie still had so much like interest. And then I was reading up on it, and in its 18th week of release, it was the number one movie at the box office in the US because even though the cinemas had like shut down, drive-ins were still open
and people were going to see
people were going.
That's
so an
very cool.
18th week of release, and it made $200,000, but it was the number one movie at the US box office.
That's great
because people were going to see it. And I was like, at a drive-in, fuck, I miss the drive-in. I haven't been in so long.
I've never been to a drive-in. It just doesn't strike me as something I want to do.
Fair enough.
I like the sit in the chair, the sound, I like being in the dark room. I don't know, maybe I'll find something one day that I want to do, but to get the driving experience. But it's actually just never, I don't know if it's sacrilegious to say as a movie, like, it's just never interested me.
Fair enough.
But because I'm also a little princess. I'm like, put me in the gold lounge with the recliner seats, please, and serve me grapes as I watch your film.
I do have some great
drive-in stories.
Yeah. I remember seeing Jurassic Park at the drive-in.
And a dinosaur crashed through the screen.
Ransom at the drive-in.
Ooh, give me back my son.
But I remember driving to one, and then when the first movie finished, we just drove to the other park and saw the second movie.
Oh, that's cool. Okay, that's rad.
And they did the premiere of Wolf Creek 2.
I get that's fun.
And they had like a guy dressed up as Mick Taylor chopping meat because they had like they had a barbecue for everybody.
Yeah.
And he was like chopping meat, but he was doing it in like a really like sinister way.
Doing the Mick Taylor.
And then I was really worried that he was going to then walk around all the cars.
Oh, true.
He never did, but we freaked ourselves out so much that the friend that I went with, she was smoking, so she rolled down her window. She rolled down her window, and because it was like completely pitch dark outside, someone went to the bathroom and like nudged her arm, and we just
screamed.
She screamed, we screamed,
we all screamed for ice cream.
It was a good time. Yeah.
That does sound
but I like that the drive-in is still around.
Yeah.
Like the fact that it's still something people can go to. And it kept American cinemas alive.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was the box office.
And I love that Americans actually were like, we still want to go to the movies.
It's true.
Despite the fact that we're getting all these movies going to VOD so fast.
Yeah.
I like that movies still make money even though they're available
so quickly.
digitally.
Yeah. And I hope that it feels like it is somewhat replicated in Australia every now and then. But
yes. So Invisible Man was like a just
little juggernaut.
Beyond a success. Yeah.
And then it makes sense that obviously then Blumhouse go do something with the Wolfman.
Yeah.
Like Ryan's not doing anything anymore because Derek Cianfrance was initially supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Love that partnership between those two. Place Beyond the Pines. Fucking incredible movie.
Which would have been like really cool to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
What that would have been. But I also feel like maybe it would have ended up being kind of what Leigh Whannell did, where he's the same thing with Invisible Man, where he's taken that domestic abuse situation and he's doing it from the perspective. And then for the Wolfman
concept.
Doing the thing of like, well, a guy's getting sick, he's turning into a wolf, but like what would that so I can see I can see you doing a very dramatic interpretation of a horror story.
For sure. But don't and I'm not saying you're doing this, but I think don't discredit Leigh Whannell as well.
Oh God, no!
I'm not saying you're saying
God,
that.
no.
For those listening to me, like, oh damn, now I want a Derek Cianfrance.
Yeah.
I feel like Leigh Whannell is more than capable of that because there is, like you said, it's the Invisible Man is like a domestic abuse story.
Yeah,
and definitely not taken lightly. It's not. It's not one of those things where like, and again, this isn't like shade because it's not necessarily a big part of the movie, but like the domestic abuse aspects of Malignant, so to say, are shocking, but they do take a big back seat. Yeah. Whereas like it's very much in the forefront of the Invisible Man. It's a story about domestic abuse that just happens to be about a person who also has the ability to turn invisible.
I love that with the Invisible Man too, how it's like we know that what she's saying isn't crazy.
Yes.
But like it makes perfect sense for everybody else to doubt her because what she's saying is ridiculous.
So well.
And it's like, it's one of those things where as an audience member, like you don't care that you know it's the truth.
Yes.
Because like there could be some movies where you'd want it to be that ambiguous thing of like, is she actually crazy or is the Invisible Man, is it real? This movie straight up is like, we know he's got the capabilities of wearing a suit that turns him invisible and he's completely fucking with her. But that just makes you barrack for her that much more.
Yeah.
Because she's telling you the truth every single time. And there's her explanations like are valid.
Yes.
But to everyone else, they'd be like,
it sounds insane.
For you to say, we were in a room together and this man who we can't see smacked my daughter across the face. Why would I believe it's an invisible man and not the woman standing in front of her, which is what happens. It's fucking incredible. And I was lucky enough to speak to Leigh Whannell for The Invisible Man. And he did say that like it was all about, he really wanted it to be the perspective from the audience, from the victim. And he's like, Jason Blum and Blumhouse, he's like, they are such a good studio to work for. He's like, because they don't interfere.
And
we've gotten that from like, we've spoken to
we've spoken to people who've worked with Jason Blum. I've interviewed Jason Blum. We both interviewed.
Yeah.
Did he end up coming through?
You were supposed to. I was supposed to. And my Zoom was just like, I'm not playing today. And so my interview with Jason Blum and
Jeff Wadlow,
unfortunately was cut short. And then Jason Blum wasn't able to reschedule. But Jeff Wadlow was like, I feel really, really bad for this guy.
Yeah.
So he's like, on my own time. So I like, at his house.
Love Jeff.
Like I spoke to Jeff Wadlow, which was incredible. And he was like, I felt so bad for you.
But you would have got even from the inkling of like little moment with Jason Blum. He's a smart guy.
He loves horror.
And we've spoken to producers that work for him as well. And that's the whole thing we get is that he's just a guy who trusts director's vision.
Yeah.
And he's made enough movies now to be like, if something isn't going to work, he might say something.
Yeah.
But he trusts the director's vision enough.
But
to let something happen. He'd rather something swing for the fences and be different and bold than just play it safe.
Which is like, I mean, we saw that with Halloween Ends.
That whole trilogy, right?
That movie really fucked everybody off. And like, yes, it might not have been the Halloween movie that we all wanted.
Yeah.
But like, you've
got
to have a little bit of respect for David Gordon Green for the fact that he just went.
We brought that up in the recap episode with Megalopolis. Yeah. I'd rather have 10 great directors take big swings and only 3 of them work.
Yeah.
So I can still allow directors to take big swings or still have movies where directors take big swings. But Jason Blum's very much like that.
And he also strikes me as someone who like, if he gives you a note, he's not doing it to be like, the studio's changing everything. It's a case of like, well, maybe we go with this, but I like your direction.
Well, he liked Leigh Whannell's direction enough that
clearly
he's got Wolfman.
Yeah.
Now, so
there's no way that you don't watch Invisible Man and just go, give this man everything he wants.
100%.
Like, and the fact that they made Invisible Man for $7 million. But
then also Upgrade. Then you look back at Upgrade and you go, holy shit. And then you look at how much he's written or at least served as a story credit on all the Insidious films. He's built this whole entire horror
And I think
universe.
it's also the fact that Saw was made for $1 million.
Let's talk about Saw.
Like $1 million.
Where it all began for Leigh Whannell.
Like
Saw,
that's insane.
$1 million budget.
Yeah.
Worldwide?
Yeah.
$104 million at the box office.
Are you fucking kidding me?
You don't get better than that. 50% of Rotten Tomatoes, so it's split down the middle, right?
And I get it. Like, it's one of those things where
you like it or you don't.
Yeah. And I remember, like, so Saw didn't come out in Australia until like December 2004.
Interesting. Okay.
And for months we'd heard about. It's weird. I remember seeing all these stories about like the Australian directors that have like made this horror movie
that's like taking the US by storm.
And you're like, well, can it take Australia by storm? That'd be fun.
Please.
So by the time it came
technically it's an American production. It was just filmed here on a dirt cheap budget.
So by the time Saw came to Australian cinemas, like it had made so much money and it kind of almost felt like at one point like you'd almost go, was Saw ever going to come to cinemas in Australia?
Really?
Like it just felt like one of those ones where if this didn't do
it's this grungy, it's like dirty, lo-fi, fucking gross, gory film.
And it's one of those movies where rewatching it, like I'll put my hand up. I did not rewatch it for this episode because
only rewatched it a couple of months ago.
So I've seen this movie enough times to be like,
same.
Yeah.
We're obsessed. But I showed it to my mum and my sister for the first time a few months ago.
Nice.
And I had so much fun watching their reactions to it. Yeah. Because they didn't know even the twist. So watching them be like,
that's great.
Like unreal.
But like, it's funny rewatching it. And you're like, this movie actually isn't as gory as its reputation. They get gorier as those movies got. Like two was like, you're starting to fuck with some shit. Yeah. And 3 onwards, you're just like, wow.
Nature of this franchise, though, like how do you get bigger and dirtier and crazier as the time goes on?
But like Saw actually doesn't have a lot of graphic violence.
Very implied.
It's very implied. The camera work is really like sort of shaky.
Love it.
So it's funny watching it going, this movie's in the grand scheme of the Saw movies is very tame.
Very tame. But this is where I think Leigh Whannell definitely separates the idea that it's not just, and he does this in Insidious, and he does this with everything he writes. It is actually a far more grounded concept that just has heightened elements.
Yeah.
This is just a serial killer. It's a serial killer detective movie.
Who doesn't kill people.
Which then the morality of it is wide open for discussion.
Yeah.
But it's more just a movie about 2 guys trying to figure out why they're trapped in a bathroom.
And I love that.
And playing them against each other and building up the characters, but not giving you all the information straight away. You know, you find out that Carrie Elway's character, the Dr. Dr. Adams, Adam is Leigh Whannell.
Oh, sorry.
I can't remember the doctor's name. He has a family, so that's built in really quick. So you think you're going to like this guy all of a sudden. Then it's drip fed that he's like cheating on his wife. And then it's drip fed that Adam is a photographer who takes like PI photos for money. He fucks people over. So he's been taking photos of the affair and stuff. Like the way, and these are all things that are just trickled throughout the film.
And I love
building up that suspense is awesome.
But I love that like at the end of it all, you're like, all you guys had to do was fucking talk to each other.
Love it.
And listen to each other. And you would have gotten out of this alive.
That immediate distrust creates such good conflict.
And you get it. If I was locked in a room with someone I didn't know, I'd be massively distrustful. Because you'd be like, you'd be like...
Let alone the fact that a man is lying in the middle of the ground who looks like he's shot himself in the head.
Yeah.
And the voice tells you there's a toxin in his blood that made him kill himself. Like the pain got that bad that he shot himself in the head. So you're sitting there going like, we've got that toxin in us now.
Yeah.
We're going to die. Like it's just the levels and layers of just complexities and things that are fucking with these 2 guys is incredible. And it never feels convoluted.
No.
But it's this weirdly human story at the end of it's just like a morality
which
tale.
is bizarre to see where the series went.
Oh, absolutely.
Like when it comes to like the traps and stuff, like Saw 7.
Saw became more about okay, we'll talk about this.
Yeah.
Saw it's a really great movie and we love it a lot.
Yeah.
But that fucking twist at the end is phenomenal.
It's phenomenal.
The idea that
it still gives me chills when
the music starts playing,
the hello step. So
the idea is that the man who has been dead in quotation marks the whole time.
Oh yeah, like spoilers by the way.
I mean, Saw's been up for 21 years.
This is on you if you haven't.
He's been alive the whole time. He's just had an agent in his body that like slows the breathing down.
So it makes him appear dead.
Makes him appear dead. And he gets up. He's been the orchestrator of the game. He's been right there. There's all these things throughout. They go like, the detective's like, he loves a front view seat to his own sick games. He's been in there the entire time. And it's a fantastic twist. From that point on, because Leigh Whannell wrote Saw 2 and 3.
Yeah.
And there's now 10 of them. It became more about what insane character twist can we put in.
And two did feel like...
Well, 2's a cop looking for his son.
Yeah.
That's
2 did kind of feel like it was also like, yes, the traps kind of were more elaborate.
Yes.
But 2 still did feel like it had like... You've written a story and these traps you've incorporated
around it.
The movies going forward then became about basically being like, we have these traps.
It's traps
How
and
do we
twists.
make a story around it?
It's traps and twists.
Yeah.
and
it takes
still love
away.
it.
They look, they're still fucking so much fun to watch, and they get so gross. Like 7 is gross.
Oh yeah,
like 7 is like
it's just mean.
7 is disgusting. But they became more about the spectacle, whereas Saw is about like shock value in its reveals and its story.
Absolutely.
And can we also talk about, so you've made this movie for $1 million.
Yeah.
You've got Carrie Elwes, Danny Glover, and Monica Potter. Like, those are not...
Michael Emerson.
Yeah.
He was just about to start Lost, I guess.
Yeah,
Lost was
like
about to
they're
become one
not,
of the biggest shows on TV.
they're not actors that are just
Who
like...
all...
They're
Carrie
established
came
careers.
to Australia. They filmed, that was on a set in Melbourne. The bathroom stuff was a set in Melbourne. And I do believe I think the rest of it was shot in America. Like the stuff inside the doctor's house and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it's not a small movie, but it absolutely is.
Yeah.
But it looks gritty. It looks grungy. It's shot on these, like cheap digital cameras.
Yeah.
But it just adds to it because it's in a gross, dank bathroom. Like Leigh Whannell's character is putting his hand into it. That's one of the funniest bits is when one of the clues suggests that they have to reach inside a toilet to find something and it's full of shit and piss. And then the idea is like, oh, hey, check the top bit. And it's in the top of the toilet. And he's like, after he's just shoved his hand in shit.
Thanks for that.
So fucking funny. And Leigh Whannell, look, and I'm sure he'd be the first to admit it. Not the greatest of actors in the film. Like, that's his first role. He's obviously taken on that performance to maybe keep costs down.
Possibly, yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Still incredibly entertaining to watch as a character. Adam is a very fun character.
But I also think...
super over the top.
Yeah, it's super over the top. And look, Carrie Elwes is not immune to it either.
Spoiler, once he saws his foot off.
Yeah,
and he's just like...
Yeah. His acting becomes
hilarious. Love it.
And it also doesn't help that like opposite like Danny Glover, who's very established.
I do love... Danny Glover has some of the best ADR in the film. Though.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get you, motherfucker. He's like had his throat slit at one point, and he just puts on. It doesn't sound like someone's had their throat slit. He's just gone deeper. He's like, I'm gonna find you, motherfucker.
And Monica Potter is basically like you can't.
Damsel in distress.
But if you close your eyes, it's Julia Roberts.
Oh, actually, I'd never thought that.
Her voice is. It's
shit,
very.
Man. I guess
Julia
I'm watching
Roberts.
Saw tonight.
It's very Julia Roberts.
That's hilarious. Yeah. But I think like. It's one of those things where Leigh Whannell as a writer is when he has an interesting idea and an interesting concept about a serial killer who doesn't kill, who does these games that are designed to test people to bring forward their demons and stuff. Like that's the whole idea.
It's like you've done something wrong. I'm giving you the opportunity to like.
Well, Jigsaw because he has cancer. Well, sorry, I shouldn't say cancer. He has a tumor. He actually does.
I mean, he's like he's faking it. It's like no, he's got cancer. He's sick,
and he traps people who don't value life.
Their life, yes.
So that's the whole test are about that. So it's it's just this interesting morality tale.
Have we ever spoken about like what you would do if you were in a trap?
I think we did. I think we did for
about
Saw
what,
episode.
like what
I think it's come up multiple times.
Like what you would.
I would. It depends on the trap though, because some of them you're like, some of the traps, cop that pain.
Some of the traps, I would probably be like, I think I'd die.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think it just depends on the trap.
Watching Saw,
I don't know what my
watching Saw X when the guy's got to break all of his fingers or his eyes. I would just do the.
You do them all at the same time.
Yeah, because he pulls one and his finger goes back. I would just
by the way, great for the film.
Oh, great for the film
in real life.
Yeah, in the real life, I would just do all of it. Hand goes back. That would obviously be excruciating,
terribly painful.
You'd be probably able. Eventually, your hand would you'd get it.
You get it fixed. You'd get it. There was surgery and stuff now. Yeah,
your fingers would go back to being not broken.
Well, yeah.
And it would save you from having your eyeballs sucked out of your head. Even though that scene ended up being a dream sequence more than anything.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, it was like
but yeah, like imagine. That. I remember because I watched Saw X not too long ago. And I was like, yeah, I think I would do that. But then a lot of the stuff in Saw X that in the actual warehouse, I'd be like,
that's pretty rough.
I don't know. But like Saw, like, I don't know. You don't know until you're in a situation. But like maybe I'd cut off my foot. I don't know. Who knows?
Maybe. Who knows?
But I mean, that would be so painful.
So painful. Yeah. And that's just Saw. That's what Saw does. It brings up these conversations.
Yeah. Like the fucking, like the when it's when she's got to cut the key and in the reverse bear trap and stuff, and it's like in the book.
You can do that. I'd do that.
It's in someone else's stomach, so I'm like,
Hey,
yeah.
shit, man. Dog's got to eat, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. But Saw,
I think that means you're going to survive.
Hell yeah.
Dogs want to survive.
That's it. Sharks don't swim backwards. So
Unless you're watching Deep Blue Sea.
that is very true. And then
Sharks can't swim backwards. They can't. Which also, watch the episode that we did for the Meg, because my God, did we have fun.
That was a fun episode. That was a drunk episode.
Yeah, watching shark movies.
This is almost a drunk episode.
For one of us.
For one of us. So Saw kicked off Leigh Whannell's career, kicked off James Wan's career as well. And Leigh Whannell has been consistently writing. He also created the Insidious franchise as well. Then he made a film called Upgrade. 2018. We were just kind of briefly introduced it. Very low budget, high concept, small contained sort of film that when I saw it, didn't know much about it.
Another one filmed in Australia.
Didn't know much about it, and then walked out going like, imagine, like, I'm glad the movie had the $3 million budget. It has $17 million at the box office. Imagine Leigh Whannell getting like $50 million to make that movie. But you know what? In fairness, he didn't need it. He didn't bloody need it.
No, because none of the effects are bad.
None of the effects are bad at all.
It's set, like, I like that it's sort of set in a futuristic world, but the world isn't ridiculously.
No, it's not
like
dystopia. It's not utopia.
Okay, yeah, you've got cars that
self-driving cars.
And I'm like,
do now.
hey, I've been in a self-driving car.
Oh, that's right.
It's fucking
weird.
It's fucking cool, but
okay, I love that you're cool.
It is weird, but it is like, and it's weird.
I prefer the horse and carriage.
But it's weird. I never felt unsafe.
Sure, yeah.
And like,
that's until it starts talking to you like the fucking car does in this, and it's like command unknown.
Yeah, that would scare me. But like,
autopilot engage.
But like, I don't know. The self-driving car that I was in was basically just like, we won't listen to you until like you have a problem. So sing to your heart's content. And I was like, someone's putting on espresso and listening to that song. It's cool. So San Francisco have self-driving cars. Self-driving like Ubers.
So Upgrade isn't great. As far away as we thought.
So I was like, yep, I'd get in a self-driving car.
88% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes.
Deservedly so. Because it's a great movie. It's a 90-minute sci-fi thriller. Logan Marshall Green.
Yep.
And
not Tom Hardy.
Not Tom Hardy. Not discount Tom Hardy either, by the way. Like Tom Hardy. Tom Cardi B. Melanie Vallejo is his wife, Asha.
Yeah.
And she's in the tech industry.
Yes.
He repairs in this case, old cars. They're like 2010, 2000s models.
Yeah.
And as they're dropping a car off, they meet an eccentric tech man who is the embodiment of every like eccentric. Like, I think I'm here to change the world. I'm a tortured genius.
And I was like,
in fairness, very over the top. But when the other reveal happens later in the film, it makes so much sense.
Yeah. So what I was watching,
it's kind of a good performance.
When I was watching it, my first time watching, I was like, yeah, this guy is
playing.
But I was like, this is giving me like Leigh Whannell, Carrie Ells Saw vibe.
Yes, right. Yeah. It's a little bit too. It's a little
because Logan Marshall Green and Melanie Vallejo are very grounded.
Very grounded. Lovely couple. Beautiful couple.
I was like, okay, but you just go, I'm going along with it because this is a high concept.
High concept.
But yes, there is a certain reveal about
why
this character and why, and I was like, okay.
Worked well. Did you see that coming?
I did not.
Great twist.
Yeah.
Really great twist. I remember being shocked by that the first time.
And I really liked that the stem that controls Logan Marshall Green, that it's like a case of only he can hear him.
Yes.
I like, and he's based, and then he tells you all of the science for it, and you just go, I'm going to go along with it.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah.
So the reason he has a stem, which is a little microchip in there, so they're driving home after dropping this car off.
Yeah.
They're having sex in the back seat while it's on autopilot.
Which I will say, it turns out the self-driving cars in San Francisco have
cameras.
They've got a way. I don't think it's cameras, but they've got a way to like decipher if people are using them for having sex.
Interesting.
And apparently, if you are, the car just like completely stops.
How good's that?
Yeah. Because I was like, 100% people are like, oh, we can fully fuck in the back seat of the car. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? This is a good case to happen. What does happen if you have sex in that car? It'll fucking flip itself.
Yeah.
You're in a car accident, but then not only are they in a car accident, they're attacked by a group of men who murder the wife, who murdered Asha.
I was like,
weren't expecting that.
I was like,
brutal as well, because it's an execution. It's not like it's not like a robbery. It's a proper fucking
and this is maybe
execution
20-ish minutes into
not
the
even
movie.
I would say I was like 10 15
but I was just like
movie.
fuck, you've killed, like you've gone southpaw
and then they use southpaw
good
fucking reference.
Yeah.
And then they shoot Logan Marshall Green's character Gray in the neck.
Yeah.
So he's paralyzed, watches
with
his wife.
Handgun, like literal handguns. A gun that's imprinted into their hand.
Great.
It's so good.
And he watches his wife get murdered, and now he's paralyzed. And a couple of months pass, he's fucking depressed, he's trying to kill himself, but the AI of his house literally won't let him kill himself.
I love that.
It's great. And he's not anti-technology, but he's abrasive about it. He's like, I don't like it.
Because he's like,
I don't trust it.
And he's also like, technology basically is the reason why I'm a quadriplegic
and my wife's dead.
Because we told you to stop the car, and the car was like, I do not have, no.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Because you had sex in the backseat of my car.
But then you also realize, like, there's a lot more of a conspiracy as to why the car didn't slow down and everything.
And then after a couple of months passed, and he's a quadriplegic now. Yeah. This eccentric, I should get his name up. The eccentric tech guy, Harrison Gilbertson, who plays Aaron King.
That's it. And I'm like,
Aaron? Or was it Aaron?
But I'm also just like,
Elon?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, you got to be thinking that.
Yeah.
Invites him, offers him this computer chip ultimately called STEM that will be implanted in him. And he can walk again. Yeah. And he can talk again. And it's kind of great.
You'll get your life back.
Until STEM decides to sort of be like what we fear AI might be and take on a bit of its own will.
It is kind of...
But then it turns into...
It is kind of funny watching this in a world where AI is...
Well, where we have a man who has a fucking chip in his brain now, the Neuralink, right?
So it's like this, how far all this stuff isn't really that
Elon Musk, if that's your real name. And then we get this, like, the only other way to compare it on like a mass populist level is like Venom. It's a Venom movie. It's a voice inside the head that's getting him, that takes control of the body. But then STEM and Logan Marshall Green's character, Gray, work together to try and, because STEM starts putting these ideas in his head of being like, hey, I think I've been looking at footage of your accident and I think your wife might have been fucking executed. Yeah. And he's like, dude, I know. Let's fucking take down the people who did it. And what follows, it turns from this like high concept sci-fi drama into a balls to the wall action film. Yeah. With some of the most exciting action scenes
and like
on a low budget.
And really graphic violence.
Leigh Whannell is no stranger. I mean, the guy who made Saw, we shouldn't be too shocked, loves mutilating people in his films.
And like we see it in The Invisible Man too, in like probably not as extreme, but there is some shocking violence in The Invisible Man. But Upgrade, like as someone who hadn't seen it, I was
a bit shocked at
like, look, there's the first major action sequence is fucking incredible.
So in the house.
Yeah. So Logan Marshall Green's walking around this house and STEM starts basically saying like,
investigate over here.
And like there's someone in the house, like now's your chance to strike. And he's like, I don't really know how to fight. And STEM is like, he's like, well, I know how to. If you give me permission, I will essentially like take control of your body. And Logan Marshall Green, who is getting attacked, he's like, all right, he yells out, I give you permission. Then he just turns into
a killing machine.
And it's so it's so excitingly filmed.
I can tell you how, because I know how it was done. So it's a side-on shot of Logan Marshall Green,
which I've noticed Leigh Whannell does like to
do those.
Yeah. I saw in The Invisible Man, I was like, hey, okay.
It does it a little bit.
Yeah.
And what the camera does, let's just say STEM as Logan Marshall as Gray throws a punch, the camera will tilt with the punch, or the camera will tilt if he dodges. the camera will tilt with the body and goes.
And like when he's on the ground and stands up, the camera goes comes up with him. Yeah.
So what it was, it's a camera that they can, there's a sensor on it that they can program to follow something. And they put an iPhone in his pocket as the sensor. So anytime Logan Marshall Green moved, the camera would move with him. It's incredible. And it only is used better and better throughout cinema now. But Leigh Whannell killed it.
And I like that it's used like, it doesn't then become like just the crutch of like, none of this is exciting, but if we film it, it's exciting. I was like, these action sequences are exciting regardless.
Super great.
But this just adds, and it adds like the heightened science fiction element to it too, because Logan Marshall Green is like, he's just a passenger in his own body at that point. And he's just like, and I love that when he's like, the way that he's like blocking shots and moving, you can just see Logan Marshall Green being like, I have no idea what I'm doing. That's
something I absolutely want to praise, is because Logan Marshall Green is doing the stunts.
Yeah.
He's doing the fighting. So his ability to throw convincing punches and kicks,
as someone who doesn't have control of his body,
with a face that's going like, what the fuck is going on?
And this is where the film and the film has this really nice sense of humor to it, where he's just like, what the fuck is going on? But he's the one that's doing the stuff.
And again, if you haven't seen it, the best comparison is that Venom comparison when Venom and Eddie Brock are obviously going back and forth.
But also, now that I've seen this, I was like, this is a far better movie.
On my letterboxing, I was like, Upgrade ran, so Venom could also be a movie.
But I was like, if Leigh Whannell did Venom,
hilarious. It would be great. But we got it with Upgrade.
We got it with Upgrade. We didn't need a Venom movie after Upgrade.
But again, like Leigh Whannell's other films, this is more so a movie about a man trying to avenge his wife and investigate why she got killed. It just has a heightened concept. I feel like I've said it like 100 times. Like, this is what Leigh Whannell does so great. And I feel like but some screenwriters, some directors would be like, let's just play around in the sci-fi world of it. And Leigh Whannell's like, no, we need the humanity of it all. We need to give a shit why Gray is so passionate about fighting.
Everything's grounded in a sense of reality, even though everything around it is
out of control.
And that's like we saw it. Like we saw it with Saw.
Yeah.
We saw it with Upgrade, and we see it with Invisible Man, and we assume we will see it with Wolfman.
And I think that's his strength as a screenwriter. And then he has this incredible aesthetic then in Upgrade. It looks great. The world feels so real and lived in. The excitement of the action scenes, but then his ability to continue pulling out twists. The big twist we were talking about is that that Aaron or Aaron. I'm going to keep calling him Aaron because that's how it's written, but I think it's Aaron. But Aaron sounds funny.
Aaron sounds better.
Aaron. Has this entire time, even before the murder of Asher, has been controlled by Stem. Stem has been the villain all along.
Yeah.
Basically looking for a human host that was more capable than Aaron.
And he was like, I saw it with Gray. And he's like, even though you were like quadriplegic, he's like, you had all of the other abilities that I knew that I could take advantage of.
Which is incredible. And it's a dour ending of a film.
Oh my God.
Brutal.
So at first I was like,
surely not.
I was like, please don't tell me this is some weird, like, this has all been...
Scarlett Johansson's turning into a USB. Oh, well, that as well. Yeah.
No. Oh, yeah. But I was like, please don't let this be like, this whole thing's been a dream. This whole thing's been like a simulation. Like, I was like, I don't want that.
Not like Repo Man. Yeah.
And then when you realize like Stem still is in control of Logan Marshall Green's body, and he's basically been like, Logan Marshall, so Gray, he's like, that character wants a happy ending, so I'm going to give it to him.
Yeah.
So he basically then puts Logan Marshall Green, his conscious, I guess, into like another atmosphere.
He's basically playing a movie in his brain.
Yeah, and he's like, the movie in his head is that he survived the accident, his wife survived the accident, and they will live happily ever after. And I will then walk around. But then
in reality,
he's walking around in Gray's body, probably going to
take over the world.
Yeah. So it's like,
dour.
It is dour, but at the same time, I'm like, at least
Gray gets a happy ending.
Gets to live his life with his wife.
Unless you're from the deep state, then you're like, they're doing that to us right now.
But yeah, I was very, very like, what the fuck?
Right. But I feel like I love that's Leigh Whannell's ability to also be like, hey, this is the best conclusion for this story.
Yeah.
Like there's no detaching stem from Grey.
Well, because it's like
he just go back to his.
That's it.
He'd
I was
want to
like,
kill himself, right?
I either detach from him and he's a quadriplegic with a horrible life, because then he would probably end up getting done for all of the murders
He's committed a lot of murders.
Because the cop, played by Betty Gabriel from fucking Get Out.
Yes, Betty Gabriel's incredible in this movie.
So
glad she got more stuff.
She ends up realizing that he isn't a quadriplegic.
Yes.
So she would. So even though if he went back to being a quadriplegic,
she would have been.
And Stem is like now off to with someone else, she'd be like, "I'm doing you for all those murders." So he'd end up probably going to prison.
Yeah.
So in his normal life, he's fucked. So yeah, it's better to let him have this.
Just let him have his existence and let Stem take the body on the run.
Even though in his conscious, he kind of remembers having Stem in his body.
Yeah.
He's probably like, oh, maybe it was all of a dream. Like, so yeah,
it was only just a dream.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you enjoyed it though. First watch.
Can you imagine if I didn't?
I mean,
we've had that. We've had, yeah.
And you know what? It's all right.
It's all
We're
right.
still friends.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Yeah.
You can have different opinions.
But no, I very much enjoyed it. And then it was exciting to sort of watch that and go, oh, I can see the mass progression as a filmmaker and a writer too.
Big time.
Because then you get to Invisible Man and you're like,
well, then it only steps up again. And I want to shout out, so the cinematographer for Upgrade is Stefan Descio.
Yeah.
Or Descio. I don't know how to pronounce it, sorry. Was also the cinematographer on Invisible Man.
Yeah.
As well. And Wolfman.
Yeah.
So you kind of go like, at least you know, like that visual aesthetic style is going to continue on.
Yeah.
And it's incredible because Invisible Man has some insane visuals. For a movie where your villain is not seen for like 3/4 of the movie.
Yeah, you have Oliver Jackson Cohen,
incredible.
and he is only really in it at the end of the movie.
Literally at the start and the beginning.
Yeah, and even at the start, you
don't
barely
really
see him.
But we've kind of already set up Invisible Man very much so. 2020 release, one of the last films before the COVID-19 pandemic really kicked off. $7 million budget, $144 million at the box office.
Ridiculous.
Huge, very well deserved, I think. And then on Rotten Tomatoes,
it's like 91?
92%.
92?
92%.
Like, come on.
It's great. Like Rhiannon, who doesn't like horror films, loves The Invisible Man.
Yeah.
She thinks it's a fantastic movie.
Because it is more of like a psychological thriller.
Psychological thriller.
Yeah.
It's got jump scares.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
And I'm not just saying it's a psychological...
I shit myself watching
I'm
this
not just
movie.
saying it's a slick psychological thriller because that's the quote that's on the cover of it.
Well.
Yeah.
Go on, Pete. Go on, why don't you tell?
Look, if you own The Invisible Man on physical media in Australia and you see a little quote on it that says a slick psychological thriller and it says the AU review underneath, could it be perhaps because it's my review? Yes. I was quoted on the front of Invisible Man.
It's somewhere.
Is it under I?
Yeah.
Up there somewhere?
Probably. Anyway,
it's
somewhere.
But yeah, so it's my quote.
Pete's on it.
I'm pretty fucking happy about that. And that was kind of like, this was just before, so obviously just before the pandemic, and this was kind of just before I think things really started to kick off for me.
Yeah.
And so it was very nice that I was offered Leigh Whannell. Had a great interview with him. And then getting that quote, I was like, oh, holy shit, this is a double whammy.
Yeah.
And then the pandemic happened and, career-wise, things actually did really,
so
really
you're
well.
Attributing Leigh Whannell and The Invisible Man to all the hard work that you put in
I think so.
beforehand.
I think
I'm just pulling your leg, Peter Gray.
But no, it was great to get that. And for a film that I genuinely liked. Yeah.
I would even say I genuinely love this movie.
I love this movie.
It's so good.
It's so good.
It's I guess we've already broken it down, I guess. It's a woman who is escaping an abusive relationship from a very fucked up man who then is gaslit for 2 hours after thinking he's committed suicide.
And rewatching it, I was certainly like, oh, this is more triggering now.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And everything. So when I saw it in 2020, I obviously probably had a much simpler life.
Perspective on this
existence.
as well, too.
And then things happened and I experienced my own dealings with people who are narcissists and gaslighters. So rewatching it, I was like, oh yeah. I was like, Elizabeth Moss, I'm like, I get ya.
Yeah.
And I'm like, just if people
like you said
just
earlier,
believe people.
Well, I was going to say, like you said earlier, the idea that someone is literally going crazy because people just think they are, and she's not.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like that's the thing. Like, but then
my thing wasn't like people didn't think I was crazy.
No. I know what you mean.
But it was more like what these people were doing.
Put you through, yeah.
And to them, everything was justified. And so then you start being like, is it justified? And you're like, no, it's not.
Yeah, the
so it was watching that and like watching it with like a
different perspective.
I was like, oh, this is
heavy.
So yeah, this is heavy. Yeah.
But again, that's Leigh Whannell's ability to write a real story, right? A real story with this insanely fun sci-fi
and the technology used. Makes sense.
I believe it because
like,
it's not supernatural.
It's not supernatural. It's a case of this guy works in optics,
which is hilarious because Leigh Whannell has done the Insidious franchise, which and
all
Dead
about
Silence,
all about supernatural.
Which we've done Dead Silence on the show too. You know what I mean? So he's delved into supernatural stuff before, so I don't think it would have shocked anyone.
No,
but he still managed to be like, no, this is science. It's science fiction, but I'm going to make it believable enough. that there's this suit that has cameras all over it and projection all over it that it makes it look, it just takes in its surroundings and blends in. It projects what is around it.
The suit is incredible.
And the sound design, if you listen super close, and you may have heard it in the cinema, you know when the Invisible Man is in every scene.
Rewatching it, I was like with
you can hear the suit going.
Yeah. Rewatching it with in beautiful 4K with beautiful surround sound. You can really you can hear the clicks, but then you can also just
there's always
there's always little like a little rustle of something, and you just
were talking about how much we love, and this is a credit to his cinematographer as well, how much he loves that side shot.
Yeah,
he loves a wide shot. Loves the sides, loves the wides.
The wide shot in the kitchen.
Because here's the thing, when you have a villain you can't see, you're looking everywhere for that fucking guy.
And he purposely gives you a wide shot just so you go.
And he holds it.
You're like, where do I?
I'm about to get.
What do I look at?
Jump scared to shit here. Yeah. And he pulls off some brilliant jump scares.
But there's one wide shot that does that only is when. So Elizabeth Moss is in the kitchen and she's cooking breakfast, and this is all done in one shot. And it's the same. It's the wide shot the entire time.
Yeah.
And she's cooking breakfast, and then she has to go and wake up her friend's daughter. So she leaves, and we stay on the wide shot of the kitchen.
Yeah.
And then we know that he turns up the heat.
The heat on the gas stove.
Gas stoves, and that goes to fire. And then it's also when she's cutting up something, and
something drops.
He pulls the knife off in a way that. It kind of looks like it drops, but we know that he's just grabbed
it up and grabbed it.
Then that knife then becomes its own plot device later on, which is so fucked up in arguably one of the most shocking, heartbreaking scenes of the film.
Yes. But I remember the reaction of the audience.
Oh, the reaction! This is an audience movie.
Oh, big time!
Big
time! Yeah. The crowd was great when we saw it.
The crowd knew when to be quiet, and they knew when to react.
Well, it's one of those movies where, despite the idea that, well, not even despite, because of the idea that the visual aspect of the jump scare is almost taken away. Like you were scared by not seeing anything.
Yeah.
Sound and other movements become what's scary.
Yeah.
And that's so terrifying.
And he utilizes.
We are so scared of what we can't see.
And then he counterbalances like sound design with complete silence.
So good.
The silence is like
it's perfect.
It's terrifying.
It is perfect.
Yeah.
But then it not only works, but a big part of the reason it works is how fucking great Elizabeth Moss is.
She is incredible.
This is an exhausting performance.
This is like
some Naomi Scott smile.
This is like one of those ones where you just go, if this wasn't a horror movie, would she be in the award talk?
Should have been.
Because she's
that year.
Fucking incredible.
She's amazing.
She's so good.
Oh, she's incredible. And Oliver Jackson Cohen
he's great.
Creepy.
And he's
disgusting, he's really cool. And
I interviewed him on the red carpet at the Emily premiere in TIFF.
Oh yeah.
And he's
the nicest guy.
He's a very tall man.
So he's got a brooding presence too.
And he's beautiful to look at. But I said to him, I was just like, you've worked with an Australian director, Francis O'Connor and Emily. I was like, you've worked with Leigh Whannell. I was like, you filmed in Australia. And I was like, hey, can we adopt you? And he was just like, I'm more than happy for Australia to adopt me. And I was like, oh, awesome. God bless you.
I love him in The Haunting of Hill House.
Yeah.
He's brilliant in that show too.
And I'm also just going to say thank you, Leigh Whannell, for everything you did with Aldous Hodge in this movie. Because rewatching, I was like, I didn't forget how hot he was in this, but I was watching it going, he's like, the pants fit well. It's when he's standing in the singlet and he puts his arm, and I was like, your shoulders like have shoulder. It's like, my God.
Boulder boy. He's got boulders for shoulders.
And then I was very lucky to talk to Aldous Hodge for one night in Miami.
There we go.
And again, I was like, I had to mention, I was like, oh, if that man is, I want him to, he needs to be a fucking megastar.
Well, he was one of the best parts of Black Adam.
Yeah.
To be honest.
And now he's got the show Cross, Alex Cross.
I haven't watched that yet.
I was like, we need a movie for it. Because Hawkman was fucking cool.
He was cool in Black Adam. Even
so I want Aldous Hodge to just be the biggest movie star because he fucking deserves to be.
Absolutely deserves to be. So we talked about as well how much we loved the fight scenes in Upgrade. The fight scenes in this, there is a kitchen fight scene that is incredible, which is literally just Elizabeth Moss kind of fighting herself, it looks like.
Yeah.
But she's getting thrown around by an Invisible Man. And then there's one in a hospital later on. And not only is that awesome because of like, you're seeing these orderlies and nurses like unfortunately get killed and shot, but the suit starts glitching.
It's because the hospital scene is when, even though they're not really alive enough, long enough to like know, they are then like, oh,
we're starting to believe her.
We know she's not crazy now because we're getting attacked by something we can't see. But every now and then, what I love is that she, throughout the movie, Oliver, the brother of Oliver Jackson Cohen's character is like, look, I was manipulated by my brother as well. And he's
very much empathizing with Celia's
and then he goes to see her at the psychiatric hospital because she's put into a psych ward because of everyone doesn't, what she's saying sounds crazy. And he basically says like, well, the money that you've been given off of his apparent suicide is now being taken away from you because you stipulated that if you didn't commit a crime and you were deemed mentally capable, you'd be given $100,000 every month for 4 years.
Yeah.
He was like, obviously that money is going to be taken away from you.
Yeah.
But then the brother then decides to go, but we can make this all go away if you keep the baby. And she's like, what are you talking about? Because the nurse goes, oh, well, you were not aware that you were pregnant. And she's like,
huge twist.
But I was taking like birth control specifically because I did not want to have a baby with this man. And he's like, you don't think he knew that? So then you just go, holy shit, there's this whole other element of just how much he was manipulating her, that he knew she was purposely trying not to get pregnant to get away from him, and he just was changing that.
Yeah.
And he basically says, if you keep the baby and go back to my brother, we can make this all go away. So basically he's admitting my brother isn't dead.
Yes.
Which is then like...
Which is another huge twist.
So then Elizabeth Moss, smart little cookie that she is, she's like, I know you're watching me in my cell. So she attempts to commit suicide because she's like, that way you can't have the baby. Because you can tell that having a baby is like... Clearly he wants to like be a father, but he's also his way of like, you're stuck in my life.
With me.
You're stuck with me.
It's real Gone Girl energy,
Yeah. So she tries to commit suicide.
He's the girl that's gone.
Yeah. Tries to commit suicide and he's like, nah, fuck this. And he comes to attack her. And then she stabs him with, because she can sense that he's there.
Yes.
Stabs him with a pen enough that the suit starts to glitch.
Yeah.
So then for the rest of the sequence, the suit is going in and out of
which is great because it
visibility.
leads to some awesome jump scares because like all of a sudden he's right in front of someone, and then
so everyone starts to be like, "Oh, we're getting attacked by something we can't see," but then every now and then we do see it.
Yeah,
and then one of the like cops actually says to her like, "You don't want to do this. Like this is only going to make it worse for you." But she's just like, "I know what I can fucking do.
What I'm doing." Yeah,
and then it leads to the ending.
Well, yeah, and before that, I just was like that. The way that fight is filmed, the way the camera jumps around through. Oh, it's so electric and exciting. And it's just Leigh Whannell. We've gloated about how great of a writer he is, but he's just every movie has just got even better and better and uses unique visual styles to like tell a story.
Yeah.
So, and it's also like, so upgrade with the camera following. It's just like, well, of course, the technology of the camera is in control of what you see in the scene as Sem's in control.
Yeah.
And then as the camera moves around the fight scene, it's that unpredictability of not knowing where the threat's coming from.
Well,
next.
because I like that the way that Invisible Man is shot. Sometimes you're like, this feels like I'm looking at these characters the way that the Invisible Man is looking at them.
Sure.
But then other times the camera will then zoom out and show the wide room and you're like, okay, now I know that I'm in the room. I'm a fly on the wall watching Elizabeth Moss and the Invisible Man, but I don't know where he is. Yes. And then Leigh Whannell will just focus on something enough for you to go, I think he's there, and then not actually follow through on what you think is going to happen. He's so good.
He is a master of the tense build-up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even the lack of a payoff is sometimes scarier than a jump scare.
Yeah.
Which he's also great at jump scares. I've told this story before. The attic scene.
Yeah.
Watching it at the previous screening. Shitting myself. So tense. Silent build-up. Jump scares about to happen. I bump the button on the seat and my seat moves and it goes, and I'm like, fuck. Before a jump scare even happens, 3 seconds later, paint's thrown on, jump scare. Fuck. Like, it's the best. It's the most scared I've ever been in a cinema.
I was shown the film earlier
for
the interview. So when I went to the screening again, I was like, and I was just like, I can't. I did tell. I was just like, so when the attic scene happened, I was kind of just like, and
I'm like,
I was like, you're like, fuck you.
And then I hit my seat. I'm like, ah!
And then
it was brilliant.
It was
great. I can't wait. If I ever get to tell Leigh Whannell that story, I will absolutely be telling him that he is. I almost shit my pants in the cinema because of Leigh Whannell.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Whannell.
Yeah.
But then it leads to the ending, which the spoilers for The Invisible Man. It's been 5 years, but if you haven't seen it by now, you should see it by now. But it's a shock at first where the story takes it, and you kind of go, okay, they're having dinner together.
So he's basically set up the brother.
Oh,
so
yeah. He
fucks over the brother. So the brother ends up being revealed as the Invisible Man.
Yes.
And Elizabeth Moss is like, no. He might have been in the suit when we caught him. He has not been him the entire time. And Aldous Hodge, who's a police officer, is like, this is your best chance to be deemed mentally capable and that everything you've been saying is true. We have to go with this narrative that the brother was the one who was doing it and he was manipulating your boyfriend. And she's like, I know my boyfriend. He's done this somehow.
Piece of shit.
So then she goes to visit Oliver Jackson Cohen at this insanely beautiful, expansive house.
The house is unreal.
That is in in the hinterlands of New South Wales.
Yes,
but here is meant to be on the coast of like San Francisco.
Yeah, it's luxurious.
It's this beautiful like singular house that it's fucking stunning.
Yeah.
And she goes to visit him and have dinner, and he's acting very like coy and like, what we've just been through together, and she's just like, and basically she sort of says like, I will agree to go back with you.
Yeah.
You just need to admit to me
what you did.
And he can kind of sense that she's probably saying this to catch me out because she's wearing a wire.
Yes.
And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. It was my brother the entire time. And she's never completely buying it, but you almost sort of see her going, maybe.
Well, is like she's believed him before. You know what I mean? Like, so.
And then he sits with her and he says the one word that then basically gives them all away.
Yes.
And it's fucking great. So all throughout the movie, he texts her the word surprise.
Yeah.
And she knows like this is kind of like not a calling card, but like she's like, this is him. So then he says to her, like, he says something about it and he's like, it's been a big, and then he says surprise.
And then
you
she's
just
like,
see, and you just see her go,
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha, motherfucker.
And she's like, I'm just going to go to the bathroom. Let's actually have a conversation. So he kind of believes like, fuck yeah.
I've won.
Like he knows that him saying surprise did give him away.
Yeah.
But he's also just like, what are you going to fucking do?
What are you going to, exactly.
Like, you're in my house now. Like, I know how to get you back with me. And also, we haven't mentioned, he's taken kind of almost everything from her.
Oh, very much so.
Like, he's taken her sister.
Yeah. Killed the sister, which
one
is a
of
very
the
shocking,
most fucking insane scenes.
brilliant scene. Like, in a horror sense, great.
Yeah. So she goes to the bathroom, and then all we get is a camera because he's got cameras set up in his house. And
Yes.
he's very, very specific where the cameras are.
Oh, he's calculated.
And we've got his dinner table and him sitting at the end of the table, and you can't see anything else. And then all of a sudden,
There's a knife floating in the air.
and he starts to slit his own throat.
Brilliant.
And obviously, you're like, this isn't him because you can see that he's struggling against
it.
himself.
Yeah.
And then Elizabeth Moss walks out and does the scream of like, oh my God, calls 911. Like, I think he's tried to kill himself. And then this just like
the reveal.
I did like an audible like.
Oh yeah, it's very satisfying.
She walks out of the camera's view and just immediately stops crying. And then she just says, surprise. And you're
so
like,
fucking good.
fuck yeah.
Gotcha, motherfucker.
And then she walks out of the house. She's like,
She's got a bag.
and then Aldous Hodge looks in the bag and it's this suit. And she's like, what do you think it sounded like? And he's like, it sounds like he killed himself. And she's like, and then you just know that he's going to go, yep, like this guy hurt you. He hurt me. He hurt my child.
We're just letting this happen.
We're just going to let this happen. And
everyone lives their life.
and it's like, and there's no, you're not connected to this in any way.
It's great. Such a satisfying ending.
It would be nice that in some way that the $5 million keeps getting paid to her. That'd be nice.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
But just the fact that she's like, I'm free of this man. I'm also free of his brother because God knows what his brother's capable
up to,
of.
yeah.
Yes, like she's lost her sister.
Yes, there's still a lot of heartbreak behind it.
The one like relationship that she held on to so
Quite
strongly.
dearly, yeah.
But it's the most satisfying ending because
big time.
he got what he fucking deserved.
Fucking deserve.
Yeah. And then
Great film.
Yeah, and then it just ends.
Ends beautifully.
Great.
Leigh Whannell, hit after hit after hit.
And what I will say, I like that Leigh Whannell, he nails an ending.
Oh, big time.
And that can be rough in the horror genre.
But yeah, absolutely. What I'm always scared of is the horror directors who go really great ending and then like, ooh, we got a little bit extra. He hasn't done that to me.
No.
Like, Upgrade, there's potential for more story, but that story's ended.
Yeah, Saw, obviously. Look, if we didn't get any future Saw sequels...
That's a brilliant ending.
That's a brilliant ending. Invisible Man, same thing.
Ending.
She walks away and that's it.
And that's it, you know what I mean? So it's just one of those things where I've never hated a Leigh Whannell written ending. So that's a testament to him.
Yeah.
And then it just makes the idea of Wolfman even more exciting.
So exciting.
To be honest. I don't think Blumhouse's track record, whether it's good or bad, has any indicator. Horror in January is not really any indicator. I'm just excited for a Leigh Whannell horror film.
I think you look at it as it's a Leigh Whannell horror film, and he's got Christopher Abbott and Julia Garner, who are not like...
They're not taking on shit roles.
Christopher Abbott was in Craven, but...
He was too.
But like...
everyone's got a mortgage to pay.
And I also feel like a lot of people take...
Maybe he wanted to work with JC Chandor.
Maybe he wanted to work with Aaron Taylor Johnson. Alessandra Nivola.
There we go.
A lot of we got to remember a lot of these Marvel movies on paper.
Christopher Abbott, no stranger to the horror genre as well, with Possessor.
Oh,
which is great. So
and I was at a party with him in Toronto.
He's a cool guy.
I didn't get to talk. I spoke to Imogen Poots instead.
Oh, I mean, take what you can.
Because I was like, Imogen Poots, you were amazing in Green Room. I just have to say that.
She is great in Green Room.
And then she was like, oh my God, thank you. And then because she worked on French Exit with Michelle Pfeiffer.
You were like getting the
And
Michelle
I was like,
Pfeiffer.
how great is Michelle Pfeiffer? And then she just turned into a fangirl and we just started fangirling about Michelle Pfeiffer.
That's
and I was
pretty
like,
fucking cool.
This makes me really, really happy. That like, she's obviously like a good person, like a...
Yeah, she's a genuine...
Because otherwise you'd be
person.
like, yeah, I worked, like you wouldn't, yeah.
Like, of course I worked.
But Christopher Abbott was there, but he just looked like...
God, that's hilarious. behind
Right
us.
there.
It was behind us the whole time.
Yeah.
Like The Invisible
The
Man.
Man.
Slick psychological thriller.
The
The AU Review. Well done, Peter Gray.
But Christopher Abbott just looked like someone who didn't want to be approached.
Sure.
Like
sure.
not in like a bad way.
No, he was
just like minding his own business. He was talking with Brett Goldstein.
That's pretty cool.
And he just looked really, I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna, you know, like it would have been cool to just go like, oh, like you've just filmed Wolfman in New Zealand. Like it would have been, you know, but I was like, I had my Imogen Poots moment.
Exactly.
I'm happy with that.
Exactly.
I was not expecting to be invited to this party. And then when I got to the party, I was not expecting the actors to be there. So I was kind of just like taken aback. And I ended up drinking with this chick from MTV, which was great.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So good time.
Well, Wolfman
Wolfman.
should be a good time.
Wow, Wolfman. Sorry, that was awful.
As it's it's written as Wolfman, but it should be pronounced as
Wolfman.
Wolfman.
And it's not the Wolfman. It's
No,
just
just
Wolfman.
Drop the.
It's cleaner.
It's cleaner.
Yeah.
And that's another monthly movie marathon.
Done
And dusted.
Dusted.
Be on the lookout for some potential coverage
Yes.
of Wolfman. We might have some things
Wolfman.
coming through as it gets closer to its release date on January 16th.
We're very
Leigh Whannell
hopeful.
is doing a
press
Sydney
tour.
and Melbourne press tour and whatnot for
We're
it,
hopeful.
which will be nice.
Yeah.
So, but that's January, done and dusted. One episode down.
Done.
11 more to go.
Yeah.
And you know what February? Do you know what February is for a lot of people, Peter?
It's a romantic time.
It's a romantic time.
Yeah.
A time of love. And I also, you know what I love with my romance? Bit of comedy.
Yeah.
And we're going to go look back at a rom-com series
Yeah.
that I think is pretty damn good.
You've
overall.
seen all of them?
I've seen all of them.
Okay.
And it has, unexpectedly, I actually didn't know this movie was coming out until I saw the trailer for it.
Yeah, I remember like it being announced.
I don't even remember that.
But then it was kind of one of those ones I was like, cool, we're getting another one. Awesome. And then the trailer came out and I was like, they've done it. They fully made it.
They fully made it.
And
it's
they got
real,
they got like a lot of people back.
And it looks kind of funny.
It looks really nice.
It looks good.
Yeah.
So on February 14th, Valentine's Day, which is fantastic. And I think February 13th on Peacock in the States. But Australia is getting a theatrical release.
Yes.
Therefore, we're covering it on the show.
Yeah.
Renee Zellweger's back.
She's back.
As Bridget Jones. So on February 14th, Bridget Jones, Mad About the Boy, is coming out in cinemas. So we're going to go back and watch Bridget Jones' Diary, Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason, and Bridget Jones' Baby, leading up to Bridget Jones.
But yeah, Renee Zellweger's back. Hugh Grant is back.
Colin Firth
is in there. We've also got Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Leo Woodall. Emma Thompson. Great cast.
Great little cast.
And great little trilogy of movies to go back and watch because obviously the first two Bridget Jones came out pretty quick succession to each other.
Bridget Jones was 2001. Bridget Jones' Edge of Reason was 2004.
And then we had a 12-year gap, 2016, for Bridget Jones' Baby, and now an almost 9-year gap with Teen These films. So it's exciting to see how they've evolved over time. But February, it's time for love, time for romance, time for laughs. Let's do a great rom-com series in Bridget Jones.
I'm excited. So Bridget Jones' Diary and Bridget Jones' Baby, I have a lot of affection for. I remember seeing Bridget Jones' The Edge of Reason in the cinemas and not loving it.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to rewatch it to see if maybe in retrospect I'm like, oh, was I too harsh on it?
Yeah.
Let's see. But I just say Bridget Jones' Diary is like
very funny.
I'm just excited to rewatch them because they're great movies.
They're good movies.
Yeah.
And that's what's coming up
on
the monthly movie marathon for February. But until then, if you want to check us out, if you want to see what we're up to, a lot of stuff coming out in January.
I just feel like a lot of things coming out this year.
Big year ahead.
Like I looked at, obviously I did 180 interviews. But I looked at how many interviews I did in 2023. And it was like 70.
So I did 62 in
so I was like, so it fucking jumped.
Big time.
Which is why the amount of films I watched in 2024 wasn't as much as 2023.
I agree because we were doing so much more work.
So it was interesting to see that.
Because I only went to the cinema 99 times in
2024, okay. Yeah.
Which I think I did at 150 the year before.
Yeah.
But that's because a lot of things changed now. We get
But I remember I easily cracked over 400 movies. This year was under 400. But it's like
the opportunities
are
incredible, and it means more content for you guys.
Yeah,
which is what we love doing.
Which we're very happy for. So
if you want to find that content, Where are they going to find it, Pete?
Well, they'll find it on the aureview.com.
Hell yeah.
So I'll just want to quickly say thank you to everyone reading the Black Snow interviews, because that article is
great series.
Fucking doing really, really
excited
well.
for season 2, which is out. I just need to watch it.
So yes, aureview.com. You can also follow me on X. You can follow me on Instagram, and you can now follow me on Letterboxd.
About time.
Let's see if I'll actually stick with it.
About damn time.
I feel like I will, because
I'm going to stay on.
He's going to hold me
I'm
accountable.
going to hold you accountable to that.
And speaking of being held accountable, what accounts can they find you?
Oh my God. The Segway student has become the Segway master. I'll be on Instagram, X, and Letterboxd.
Please, Segway master is my father.
Just call me Segway. Instagram, X, and Letterboxd at nicksflicksfix, novastream.com.au for interviews and reviews. But until next time, when we cover Bridget Jones' Babe, bye!